2 minutes till broadcast. One minute till broadcast. Seconds till broadcast. Five, four, three, two, one. Begin transmission.
Fighting for freedom every day.
Let me tell you, the response to the show has been absolutely amazing. People can't believe that a young conservative millennial continues to fight for constitutional principles, traditional values, and talks about issues that some are even afraid to talk about. But we do it because we understand the importance of this. And now we're seeing it absolutely blow up all across the nation.
This is the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, welcome into it. It is the Voice of Reason on a Thursday, the pre-Friday celebration for many individuals. Great to have you along for the ride today as we continue down our road of common sense, reason, rationality. I don't know. Welcome in, broadcasting live out of the heart of the nation here on the flagship station of the Big Talker KQAM in Wichita, Kansas, all over the country on radio, TV, live streaming as well. As you can find us with the video feeds on Facebook Live, YouTube Live, Twitter, Twitch, LinkedIn. Plus, we have the audio on Podbean live streaming as well. And, of course, always the website at HoosierReason.com. You can always make sure to check that out, to watch the live stream, leave comments, check out the podcast, all the special features. It never ends. Welcome in. It's an awesome day, and we have so much to get to today. There is breaking news, ladies and gentlemen. Breaking news, yes. I'm telling you. The breaking news is that Joe Biden has officially come out with a plan to beat Donald Trump. Now, that is my radio tease, and at the end of the show, we will divulge the brilliant plan from Joe Biden on how to beat Donald Trump in the election with the plan. Now, remember, he's been a senator since like 1976 or 78 or whatever it was. He's only been in office for like 50 years. But now he's got a plan, and he's going to utilize that plan to beat Donald Trump. So we'll talk about what his plan is later. Plus, I want to get into the national popular vote as the Supreme Court came out with a decision on the Electoral College and how they need to abide by their state's rules, and we'll get into that here in just a little bit as well. But my question is, and it's kind of a rhetorical question, is the media biased in any way? I think you already know the answer to that one, but to talk about some of that and more with some of the current events and how the media may be swaying our opinions on some of this stuff, I'm really excited about our next guest for today. He is the author of the book Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, Covered Up Watergate, and Began Today's Partisan Advocacy Journalism. I'm excited to have on the program with us today Mr. John O'Connor with us. John, how are you, my friend?
Well, just great. Keep up the good work.
Well, I appreciate it, and you as well. I mean, this is The rhetorical question is the media biased? But to what extent is the media biased? I mean, they try to tell us that obviously the 30-some, 40-some people that die every single weekend in Chicago with guns isn't related to Second Amendment issues. They're the ones saying that defunding law enforcement across the nation is a good idea. They're the ones saying that we don't need to worry about a deficit or a debt in the nation destroying us, but we need to worry about Donald Trump's tax returns that the Supreme Court obviously needs to rule on. Are they trying to create an agenda to turn against certain political agendas in the country?
Oh, no. How could you say that?
Never.
Yeah, but as a trial lawyer, one of the things you always look for in the other side when you think they're putting on a phony case is you look, and oftentimes it's hard to just really pin down a lie. You can suggest to the jury it's probably a lie, most likely a lie, and so forth, but they don't know. But if you can get to, and the people in the middle of the jury don't know, there'll be some people that know the other side's lying. But if you can get one or two or three statements that are clearly, provably false, there's a wonderful instruction in which the court tells the jury that if you find a material statement is untruthful, you may, and intentionally so, not just a mistake, but intentionally untruthful, you can infer that all the other statements are untruthful. Mm-hmm. And that's the way I became more and more conservative over time, is that I realized that I was being lied to. Now, I will judge everything that is being said today by the following. When the call comes out between President Trump and President Zelensky of Ukraine, immediately they're flashed on CNN a little box in which CNN announced to the world, there is no proof that Joe Biden or Hunter Biden did anything wrong in Ukraine. End of story, period. That's the fact. That's right. The fact check. Now, when people say that, when your media says that, are they telling you the truth on other things? You know those things. You know that's nonsense. At the very least, there were huge questions of corruption. So when you say there's just absolutely no proof, there's no issue here, and, of course, now we're getting – and here's one of the things that bothers me. Today we had these Trump tax decisions, and you have to wonder, especially as to John Roberts, who in essence is the swing vote. It was there were 7 to 2 votes, but Gorsuch and Kavanaugh went along with the majority opinion, but they didn't join in it. They voted that way, but they may have had very much reservations about exactly how to carve out this thing. But it didn't make any difference for those two because there were 5 people in the majority, one of whom was the great John Roberts.
Right.
Now, you can't tell me that this guy who's got good, solid, conservative instincts, common sense instincts, but has been rattled from day one. He's a scared rabbit. You can see it. He was bullied and intimidated by President Obama and Senator Leahy on the Obamacare decision. We all know that was intellectually dishonest. The guy is so worried about the perception of the Roberts Court. Well, guess who gives him that perception that he's so worried about when he and his wife go to cocktail parties? He wants the Roberts Court to have lights shining all around it. It's the media. That is the problem. If you were on the other side of the fence, you wouldn't have any worry. Nobody on the liberal side ever worries about whether they're going to, if they vote liberal, that anybody's going to chastise them. But when you're on the conservative side, if you give a conservative decision, you're so worried that the elites in the media are going to kill you. And
Sure.
So what happens is people like John Roberts become scared rabbits, and they're worried about their perception, their legacy, and all this stuff. And so what happens is we now have a body that's supposed to be immune from public pressure, and guess what? They're not immune. And media distortion and media howling and screaming can affect the Supreme Court. And, of course, look what, Schiff and these guys get away with in Congress with impunity. So the media is more than just inaccurate or lying, any way you want to put it. it affects the other branches of government as well, and that's what's terrible.
Well, it is terrible, and they put the pressure on them to create, as you mentioned, create this spotlight on them to demonize them, and they get scared and shaky. So you have to have someone, I guess, on the conservative end to have a little bit stronger backbone, to not be concerned about their legacy per se, but just to know that they need to do the right thing. I mean, prime example of it is the difference between something like Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Every tweet, every comment, every gaffe that he makes or misstep that he makes, the media hones on him. He doesn't know what he's doing. He's losing his mind. He's walking around the White House aimlessly. He has no idea how to handle situations. But yet, we have a guy who's, I think, going into dementia and says every time he opens his mouth has a gaffe, and yet the media doesn't cover a single bit of it. To me, that's media bias, and that's going to try and sway some who may not follow this nearly as closely to be like, wow, Joe Biden seems like a great old guy. Let's vote for him, as opposed to this Donald Trump guy who doesn't know how to say anything correctly. And it blows my mind how people can fall for it.
Yeah. I mean, if you say the king has no clothes, you just, what's the matter with you saying the king has no clothes? The king has beautiful clothes. And that's what people are doing with Joe Biden. Oh, look, good old Joe Biden. Oh, he's fantastic. And now there are these articles about how, he's going to be the most progressive guy ever. I don't think that's a good thing, but to some people it is. But that assumes, of course, that he has a thought in his head. I mean, the poor guy's, it's hard for him to get through a day, I think. Yeah. And now he's, and the problem is he can't be trusted to separate the wheat from the chaff. I mean, what's going to happen going forward here? It's just going to be a bunch of nonsense.
How much is the media going to influence maybe the DNC and the Democrats to help choose his running mate? Because everybody kind of, on the right side at least, is coming to the conclusion that he's going to be the puppet to get a more progressive candidate in as the VP, and then once he gets in there, they're going to make him step aside because of dementia or old age or whatever, and then have their candidate really be the one that's going to pull the strings and run things in D.C. How much influence is the media going to have on that when it comes to choosing that certain candidate?
Well, the media has already weighed in and sort of put Biden in a box. So I think Biden's in the I'm going to select a woman of color box. And so once he does that, you have pretty slim pickings there. And I think the only person that really halfway qualifies and halfway is presentable as a major candidate is Kamala Harris. So that's who we are left with. Her whole country's fate is left in the hands of Kamala Harris. Now, I've actually, back in the day, I actually gave her some money when she was running for DA. Went to a couple fundraisers with her. I mean, she's okay in many ways, but what is her experience to lead the country? I mean, even if you concede that, progressive policies are better than regular common sense policies, I'm not so sure that she would be the person I'd want out there negotiating with Putin and figuring out what's going on in the Middle East, and would know what to do with the Fed funds rate. She's been a prosecutor. She's had a cup of coffee in the Senate, started running for president. Sort of says what is, the issue du jour, and we'll go along with anything. Sure, Green New Deal, yeah, why not? Medicare
sure.
for all, yeah, I guess so.
Well, I believe she was one of the co-sponsors of the Green New Deal on the Senate side, wasn't she?
Yes,
yeah.
Yes. In other words, it just comes along. It makes absolutely no sense. There's no, it's just like, hey, if everybody's doing this, is it polling 51%? Okay, I'll do it. And it's not polling 51% across the country. It's polling 51% among Democrats, and of course, who knows what they would think, even smart Democrats, if they actually looked at that bill. But anyway, that's what we've got. We've got people that you have the blind leading the blind here, and it's really very, very scary. I mean, if Biden were making some sort of a disciplined effort to find the best candidate on the theory that, he's not going to be around forever,
sure,
I would feel much better. I'd feel, like this guy in Montana, Steve Bullock, I think is his name, was a decent guy, wanted to work with everybody, had common sense approaches to things, a bit too liberal for me, but he was a decent guy. He went to Harvard. He's also a man of the people in Montana, And of course, you got about 0.2% of the vote. I mean, who wants a guy like that when you can have somebody talking about the Green New Deal? So it's very distressing to me that Biden is not out there trying to get a good candidate.
Well, he's not really doing anything. I mean, he's staying in his basement right now. His poll numbers, it reminds me of like Hillary Clinton. When she doesn't say anything and no one knows where she is or what she's doing, her poll numbers go up. And then when they speak, then they begin to go downward. And that's kind of what's been happening with Joe Biden, hoping that Donald Trump will just kind of self-destruct, and it quite hasn't happened yet. We got to take a break real quick. John O'Connor is our guest here, a former assistant U.S. attorney in Northern California that's represented the United States in both criminal and civil cases, also the author of Postgate. When we come back, talking about journalism, I want to talk about how we can try and, if we can, if it's even possible, to try and clean up journalism to make it journalism again without trying to push an agenda to demonize individuals, but just have just the straight news. Is it possible, or are we too far gone? We'll do that and more when we come back with our guest. It's The Voice of Reason. It's a Thursday. Stay right here. Lots more coming up.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with The Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HoosierReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HoosierReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HoosierReason.com. Missed part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with The Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosier-holic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. For a schedule of upcoming guests on the program, daily show topics, or to reach out to the Hoosier Media Network, visit us on the website at HoosierReason.com. Or for general inquiries, to be a guest on the program, or to have Andy a guest on your program, email us at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Keep fighting for freedom with us every day right here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network. Now, back to the show.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome into the Voice of Reason, 24 minutes past the hour. Great to have you rocking with us today. Cramming 10 pounds of reason into a 5-pound bag, trying to rebrand the Millennial Generation 1 radio listener at a time, because that's what we do, because that's who we are. At least that's what I am. And that's what we'll try. So, hey, welcome back into the Voice of Reason. Our guest, John O'Connor, author of the book Postgate, How the Washington Post Betrayed Deep Throat, covered up Watergate, and began today's partisan advocacy journalism. So here's the big major question, and I don't even know if it's possible. Way back when, we used to call this thing yellow journalism, when they actually had a bad reputation, when they wouldn't give the news or they give actual opinion in their news articles, and it was frowned upon. Now, it's difficult to find it, and I honestly don't know if we can get back to actual journalism, because it's kind of even subliminal, even when they give a clip of Donald Trump, and then they give a clip of somebody else to try and counter that, and then they reinforce the counter of it. I don't even know if it's intentional, but it just kind of happens as a quote-unquote news report. Can we get back to actual journalism to give information and say, you do with it with what you want? I don't know that we can do that anymore, can we?
Well, that's the question I've been struggling with. Seriously, that's why I wrote the book Postgate, basically about how the Watergate coverage of the Post started this whole thing. And here's my thought. Right now, the real problem is the mainstream journalists all are together singing off the same song sheet, and there's a big echo chamber. And they have power, and they can all deceive and distort is really what it is. It's this deception, the distortion. And they can do it, and because they're all saying the same thing, they never get called on it. There are many people like you and me, who have a problem with the media. There are a lot of people who have problems with them. The issue, though, is that we on the common sense side, not even conservatives, not conservative, just common sense versus deception. Sure. That's all it is. Seeing both sides of it versus deception, stating the facts versus slanted opinions. There has to be some vehicle, and I don't know what it is here, where there's a louder voice, where we aggregate voices. If you took everybody who thought the media was terrible and you could put it in one megaphone, you might have something that would really resonate with these folks. They'd say, oh, my gosh, there are a lot of people out there with power that are saying that we're shameful. Maybe we shouldn't be shameful. Now, how you do that, I don't know. I've thought about this. I was just as the lockdown happened, I was going to give a speech to a group of Republican women, and I was going to talk about with the Republican women about women's groups throughout the country, at least trying to link them together so that they could speak with a louder voice and get ideas across and network. But vehicles like that, I don't know what else there would be. If there's some way for the common sense folks to link and insist on just telling both sides of things. And how to do that, I don't know. Mm-hmm. And that's what I would like to work on. And and here's the deal. I write a book about this, and you'd think it would be provocative, and is provocative, and I just knocked the heck out of the Post for their coverage on Watergate.
Sure.
But the problem is the mainstream media is not going to cover that book. I mean, it's a good book, and people love it who read it, but the mainstream people out there who should know that they're no.
Yeah. Yeah, they're not going to cover it. They're not going to talk about it because they don't want their name out there. And it's the same. This is exactly what the problem is that when someone does try to do the right thing or give the proper news or call out what journalism used to be, was exposing corruption or exposing things that weren't known to the public to do the right thing, then they get shunned. I mean, one source is like One American News. I mean, they they're considered a radical conservative group now because they try and actually talk about news, and it's news that no one else is talking about in a certain way, and now they're classified as a radical group. John, we're out of time, my friend. We got to get you back on to talk more about this, but I appreciate it very much so. The book is called Postgate. Make sure to go and check it out on Amazon and all the bookstores. How the Washington Post betrayed Deep Throat, covered up Watergate, and began today's partisan advocacy journalism. John, it's been an honor. Got a lot more to get to here on The Voice of Reason. Stay tuned.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hoosier Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.
The Hoosier Media Network is way more than just the voice of reason. It's your source to find numerous different online talk shows, podcasts, TV, and radio programs, all in one simple online location for you. From political talk to health talk to whatever you may be interested in, we're here for you. And I tell you, it's growing every day. Catch Tracy Maxfield with her podcast Engage, Educate, and Empower, discussing mental health issues in children and teenagers. From bullying, teenage suicide, addiction, ADHD, and so much more, learn from Tracy and her guests about symptoms, signs, and ways to talk to your children, plus so much more. Having battled depression, being the author of the internationally acclaimed book Escaping the Rabbit Hole, and being a retired nurse, Tracy is kind of the go-to on the subject. Make sure to find her on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and YouTube, along with her website at tracymaxfield.com. Also, make sure to tune into the weekly podcast Jump, Pivot, and Roll with Shannon Stiles and Rachel Murphy. Taking that next big leap of faith is hard. Trying to write a book, maybe struggling with a relationship, looking to take that next big career step. What's stopping you? There's a lot of big questions there, and they're questions that Rachel and Shannon want to help with you each and every week. It's Jump, Pivot, and Roll on any of your favorite podcasting sites and on Facebook and YouTube. All of these shows and a heck of a lot more can be found on the Hoosier Media Network Facebook and YouTube channels. Make sure to follow and subscribe to check them out today. Follow all the shows, and if you have any inquiries, check us out at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with The Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hoosier with The Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. The show's growing all the time, and as we talk about the big issues of the day, one of the big parts of the program is you. And I want you to join us on the program. Whether you agree, disagree, or just want to relieve some of that political frustration, we're here for you. No matter where you may be watching, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, go ahead and leave a comment on the live stream. Chat with other listeners and let me know your thoughts on the topic. Also chat with us on the Podbean chat room. Just go to our live stream of the show at podbean.com and chat with other listeners. You can also call into the program. Just download the Podbean app onto your smartphone, join the live stream, and call in through the app. This is your show, and we want to hear your thoughts. So go ahead and join us here on the Voice of Reason and the Hoosier Media Network.
When Reason Meets Radio. You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Welcome into the Voice of Reason. Thanks for hanging out with us today on a Thursday, the pre-Friday celebration, and it's all done, which means it's a Friday. Most people, it's all done. Maybe you're working overnight. If so, then I don't envy you. I worked a third shift job for a while, and that was not my most favorite thing to do at all. So if you do it, then kudos to you, and my hat is off to you every night when you have to get up and actually go work for that. We are broadcasting live, radio, TV, live streaming all over the place, HoosierReason.com. You can go and check us out there. You can check out the special features, the podcast, the blog that we have. As we're in a brand new month, we've had a lot of new people actually signing up for the newsletter as well. Become a Hoosierholic, which means if you go to the website, then you'll see the little thing pop up and say, do you want to become a Hoosierholic? And heck yeah, you do. Why? Because that's awesome. And you'll get a monthly newsletter from us talking about some other topical issues that we talk about on the show, and then divulge a little bit deeper. We'll also talk about some of the holidays coming up for the month and a recap of the show and what's coming up on the show. Speaking of, Newt Gingrich is coming on the show tomorrow, which I'm really excited about. I don't know about you. Newt Gingrich is one of those where he's been kind of on the fence of like a more moderate guy, but at the same time, he's done a lot of good, and he did a lot of good trying to stop Bill Clinton back in the day, and he led the Republicans when we needed him to in many cases. So hat tip off to Newt Gingrich, and he's coming out with a new book, so we'll get a chance to chat with him coming up tomorrow. You're not going to want to miss that show. We got some decent conversation going on social media right now as well, so thank you for that one. Please go out and share it all over the place so that way people can break the algorithm, since apparently it's been difficult to find the last few days. A little teaser for you. In the next segment, we're going to release the plan that Joe Biden has released. So we're going to talk about it. Joe Biden's plan to beat Donald Trump. Now, as you know, he hasn't really come out with any ideas all the way back during the primaries, if you remember that far back, because in politics we seem to have amnesia and we don't remember a whole lot. But Joe Biden came out with a plan saying that he was going to have a 10-year plan to cure cancer, because that was his last desperate move. And that obviously works because he got the nomination, not officially yet, but he's got the numbers within the DNC to be able to pull off the numbers. So he was going to cure cancer. That was his big thing. I'm going to cure cancer. Now, he's been a senator for how many years? He owned, at least, I think it shut down now, but he owned a health company researching the cure for cancer. His family, his son had died from cancer, and he was a vice president for how many years? For 8 years. And he didn't cure cancer. But now, as president, he's going to cure cancer. I find that quite fascinating. I don't know if that was the main reason why Democrats ended up supporting him or not, but he's not talking about that anymore. In fact, he's not talking about anything other than sitting in his basement saying that Donald Trump's handling the coronavirus terribly. If he's such a medical expert and he's going to cure cancer, how come he hasn't solved the whole coronavirus thing either? I mean, I would assume, I'm not a doctor here, I was called that on social media. Let's talk about that in a second, too. I would assume that Joe Biden actually would have an easier time trying to solve the coronavirus with a vaccine than he would being able to cure cancer. That's just me, as the speculation third-party advocate here, just kind of looking from the outside in. I don't know if that's really the case or not. But, hey, you would think it would be easier to cure the coronavirus with a vaccine than it would be with cancer. But that's not his plan, by the way. He's got a new plan, so we'll talk about that in the next segment. Make sure to stay tuned in for that. Is it going to be what's going to save the Joe Biden presidency or the campaign, the candidate Joe Biden, from the evil, terrible Donald Trump? No, I really want to talk about here for this segment is something that I think we need to be concerned about. I have to admit, I was not concerned about this for the longest time. I thought it was intriguing. I thought it was interesting. I thought that we should talk about it as a nice educational debate, but we shouldn't take it serious because there's no way it's going to happen. But they're actually coming close. So now we need to raise the red flag and say, hey, patriots, hey, conservatives, hey, constitutionalists, we need to be a little bit concerned about this, especially if you don't live in a large city. And even if you do, and your voice is pretty much silenced. We have people, our podcast downloads are almost in all 50 states. So if you're listening in any state where you may be right now, listen up, because this is very concerning to you. There are a total of 270. They need a 270 electoral college votes in order for this to happen. The National Popular Vote, and you can find all their information at nationalpopularvote.com. The National Popular Vote will take effect when enacted into law by states possessing 270 electoral votes. Now, out of the 270 they need in order to implement this, as of July of this year, just July, a few days ago when they released this, it has been enacted into 16 states, 16 jurisdictions possessing 196 electoral votes. They need 270. And they have 196. Does that concern anybody else but me? Now, Andy, what's the National Popular Vote? The National Popular Vote, if you want to go deep into the weeds here, would mean that the Electoral College, the ones that actually vote for the President of the United States, not you and me, we're not part of the Electoral College vote. They look at it based on states and based on the population of your state has so many Electoral College votes, and based on the popular vote, or however the state does it, some do it by district, like congressional districts, some do it as the popular vote by the states, some do it by delegates. However your state does it, then they cast their vote for the president based on those decisions. Well, the Supreme Court came out earlier this week and said that, and with a court case that was trying to say that the Electoral College should be able to go rogue and vote based on the national popular vote, saying that they don't need the state legislation in order to pass a national popular vote, but that the Electoral College would be able to say, you know what, my state went towards Donald Trump, but Joe Biden won 2 million more votes as a popular vote nationwide, so I'm going to throw it there because people obviously want him more so than there. And your Electoral College in your state could vote against your demands in your state because you chose the unpopular guy, even though that he would win in the Electoral College and actually win the presidency at the end of the day. That's what the Supreme Court was about, or the case was about. The faithless electors is what they're calling it. And luckily, one of the few things that John Roberts has been able to get right over the last few weeks was the fact that they said, no, you need to abide by your state's rules. Whatever your state's rules are. Now, if you've passed the national popular vote, then you can do whatever you want to do. If your state says you need to do based on what your district says, your congressional district, that's how you need to vote. If you do it based on the popular vote within your state, that's how you need to do it. So whatever state and whatever rules are within your state, that's how the Electoral College needs to vote according to the latest decision from the Supreme Court. So that's a victory for us. That's a win, because that means the national popular vote isn't dead, but it's more difficult for them because now they still have to get legislation into numerous states in order to make this happen. But the fact that they have 196 Electoral College votes wrapped up with states that have already passed this in support of it, and it would take effect, the green light would actually come up, the flag, the code would be sent for them to do this if they hit that magic number of 270. And they're only about 70 Electoral College votes away, about 74 in total. And they have legislation in numerous states that are in works right now. They have, according to their website, the National Popular Vote has now passed a total of 41 state legislative chambers in 24 states. It has also passed at least one legislative chamber in 9 different states, possessing a total of 88 electoral college votes, meaning that in 9 states, they've gotten through at least one chamber of their state legislature, and if all of them had passed, they would have 88 electoral college votes totaling above what they need to make this a national thing. This is concerning because if they pass a national popular vote, your vote in any rural country, rural county, rural city, rural town, whatever, means absolutely nothing. It would come down to a couple states, and it would come down to a couple cities. Now, we've talked about this in the educational, theoretical sense. This is becoming a serious issue, and it's something that I think we need to seriously focus on. And stop. In time to call your state legislators in your state, wherever it may be, and say, stop it. Never let this go through. Don't even let it get through above to get onto the floor of your chamber in your state legislature, because it's not worth it. It needs to be dead on arrival, and it needs to be tossed in the bin and say, thanks for the consideration. We'll look at it again 20 years from now. Because if you do that, then the popular vote would be the large cities. Anybody living on a farm, anybody living in a rural community would have absolutely zero vote. I am advocating, and I've been advocating for it for a long time, to go the other direction and actually have a electoral college vote for state-run seats in states, from governorships to senators to however you want it, whatever, Secretary of States, maybe, depending on how your state actually does those, that you need to have an electoral college breakdown for there based on districts. Here in Kansas, the last governor's race won with 9 counties. There's 105 total counties in the state. 9 counties went for the governor, and she won because she got the most popular ones. 9! All the other ones went red. And the Democrat won with 9 counties out of 105. To me, that seems a little funky. To me, that seems that there's not proper representation. If you want representation, you have to remember, and you need to get rid of the garbage the media tells you. You need to get rid of the garbage that the politician tells you. We're not a democracy in any way, shape, or form. We are a constitutional republic. A republic that's founded on the roots of a constitution, on the rule of law. And the republic means that you have representatives, which means when you vote, you're voting for the representative to represent you. And I take that not just in Congress, to where you have a congressional member, a congressman or woman, to represent you in D.C., but also to represent your vote. Colorado does a fantastic job when it comes to some of their votes because they have delegates. They don't vote for a person. They vote for a delegate. And a delegate stands up on the stage. You go to the Republican convention or the Democrat convention, and you say, I'm from this district, and I want to be a delegate, because if you vote for me as a delegate, then I'll cast my vote for this person. And those people vote for that delegate to actually go and represent them, to cast their proper vote in the person that they want. That's representation. That's what we need at state levels. We don't need to get rid of it completely on a national level, because we would be devastated. We will never, ever, ever, ever see a Republican be president again. That's when you talk about illegal votes, illegal aliens voting, mail-in fraud all over the electoral system. That's an issue we need to worry about. Stay here. One more segment coming up on The Voice of Reason.
The Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. While you listen to the delightful broadcast of The Voice of Reason, don't forget to check us out and follow us on all of our social media sites. Whether you're using Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, Minds.com, or Instagram, we're there for you. Find us at Hoosier Reason on any of your social media platforms. You'll see special commentary, links to the articles and news that we use on the show, and videos of the broadcast. Plus, you can directly send us a message on social media during the show to let me know your thoughts. Many already do, and it's a great chat room for all of our great listeners. And you can always sign up for the Patreon site to get exclusive content, maybe hear show products before we air them on the radio, and a lot more. And when you support us on Patreon, you also help the show be able to fight for conservative values each and every day. So it's a win-win. Just find us at Hoosier Reason on all of your social media platforms, or you can find a link to all of our social media sites on our website at HoosierReason.com. We know you're on on social media already, so bring some reason into your day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Miss part of the show? Don't worry about it. There's plenty of ways to catch the program, and here's how you can do it. First, make sure to tune in every day right here on your favorite radio station. We're here for you. Second, subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite sites. YouTube and iTunes, Spotify and Google Play, TuneIn, Podbean, and more. Have the show automatically downloaded to your favorite device. Last, visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can listen to the podcast, catch our special features, and more. It's the Voice of Reason on radio, TV, and online, helping you defend and preserve this great republic. Hey, it's Andy Hoosier. Want to reach out to the show? A big part of the program is you, and we want to hear from you. Let us know your thoughts of the show, maybe a guest we've had on the program, or my favorite, when you disagree with something that I talk about. You can email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or send us a message through our website at HoosierReason.com. The show's not about me, it's about you. So be heard and be your own voice of reason. Again, email me at HoosierMediaNetwork@gmail.com or find our contact information at HoosierReason.com.
Oh, hi. You know, conservative messages now are more important than ever before. Election season, state legislative issues, and a rise in the radical left socialist progressive agenda. What we really need now more than ever before is knowledge and wisdom. That's where we come in. Hi, I'm Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason, and I'm your voice for reasonable talk, conservative commentary, great guests and entertainment on radio, TV, and the internet. It's time to bring some common sense back into the discussion. National issues, state legislative issues, no matter where you may be, upcoming elections, and a heck of a lot more, we can bring traditional values, constitutional principles, and local activism back. And here's what you can do. First, follow us on all the social media platforms at Hoosier Reason. You can watch the live stream of the show, leave comments, and even call into the program. Second, make sure to subscribe to the podcast on all of your audio devices, from iTunes and Spotify to Google Play and TuneIn. Make sure to subscribe to have every episode automatically downloaded so you don't miss a single episode. Third, make sure to visit our website at HoosierReason.com. You can catch our monthly blog talking about deeper discussions, see who's coming on the program, plus you can sign up for our free monthly newsletter to catch the latest on the show, monthly topics, upcoming interviews, and more. It's time to be that local activist again. That's what the Voice of Reason's all about. Why? Because that's kind of the reasonable thing to do. And it's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. Hey, miss a show? Don't worry about it. You have plenty of opportunities to watch, listen, learn, and be entertained with the Voice of Reason anytime you want. And here's how you can do it. First, become a Hoosierholic by going to HoosierReason.com and signing up for the show newsletter to get the latest on the show, upcoming guests, topical discussions, and more. Next, subscribe to the podcast and have the show automatically downloaded to any platform you like to use. You can subscribe through any of your favorite platforms with iTunes and Spotify, Google Play and TuneIn, or you can also go and subscribe directly to our Podbean website. Last, subscribe to the YouTube channel. Just go to youtube.com, search Hoosier Reason, and subscribe to watch all of our shows, videos, and get notified whenever we're live. All the links and info are at HoosierReason.com. Hey, I hope you're enjoying the program today. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on any of your favorite podcasting sites and have the show automatically downloaded to your phone or computer every single day. Just find us on any podcasting site or go to HoosierReason.podbean.com. And be sure to check out our Patreon site, become the ultimate Hoosierholic, and help us fight for conservative values every day. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do. Now back to the national broadcast of the Voice of Reason.
You're listening to the Voice of Reason with Andy Hoosier.
All right, real quick to wrap up that last conversation. I think it's fascinating. I think we should dive deeper into it sometime. And I really, really need to get somebody on from the National Popular Vote organization because I'd love to chat with them. According to their website, they say that under the current system of the Electoral College that the rural states and the rural communities aren't being properly represented, which I say, what? That don't make no sense because right now we at least have some voice. And they're like, well,
If you combine all the rural states, then you got more with the population less than a state like Ohio.
according to them, with all the middle of the nation and all their electoral votes, the population is less than a state like Ohio, but yet they have more electoral college votes. So therefore, those states have way too much power, like, Kansas and Nebraska and Wyoming, where it's mostly rural land, rural country, and yet you have way too much of a voice. So it would be more fair with a national popular vote. Now, regards the fact that when you do a national popular vote, the cities will be able to dominate the entire population of, say, like the state of Kansas or Nebraska could fit into like one large city, which, boom, right there would level it out and then neutralize each other, and then it would just be a few cities that would be able to dominate. So that by itself shows how ridiculous that movement is. So I'm trying to understand how it makes it more fair. So we'll get somebody on from the national popular vote. I would love to talk to them and try and pick their brains on how their mind works. All right, the big story of the day that I've been teasing all show is, and we got a few minutes left here, but it only takes a few minutes because I tell you what, Joe Biden's plan is so solid. It's so rock solid. It is going to beat Donald Trump in the general election, and it's not his plan to cure cancer. It's not his plan to cure cancer. So here's the headline from the Wall Street Journal. Biden outlines an economic revival plan. Now remember, take this into consideration. Joe Biden has been a senator since 1978 or 1976, whatever it was. He's been vice president for 8 years, and now he's got the plan for an economic revival. He's the one that went along with Barack Obama that said that manufacturing jobs can't come back into the country. He's the one that said that the jobs that are being created right now with the coronavirus in response to are the easy jobs to be created, and that it's not going to recover much more from what it is currently right here. So here is his plan. Biden outlines a $700 billion economic revival plan. Now, when you hear the federal government say revival plan with a dollar amount on it, what that means is that they're doing what Barack Obama loved to do best, was print a ton of money, inject it right into the system, and say, oh, look at that, we're going to inflate everything and think that it's going well. Now, obviously, that doesn't work because the bubble bursts at some point, the value of the dollar goes down, and you can't inflate it by injecting it in to pretend that it's working. You have to let it grow naturally, which they're very bad at doing on the left side of the aisle. But here's the plan. So he wants to lay out a $700 billion plan that was announced earlier today to revive the U.S. economy. In his plan, it's called Mr. Biden's Buy American Economic Agenda. And it's the counter the America First platform from Donald Trump. America First, his is Buy American. Now, when you hear that, what do you think of? You think of, okay, you and I should go buy American products, which we're kind of doing already, right? And Donald Trump really made that possible because many manufacturing companies brought their manufacturing back to the U.S. Made in America. That nice little sticker on there. We're buying American. But his plan is Buy American. But it's not for you and I to buy it. It's not for you and I to buy the American products to be proud of our country and be proud of the products that we're punching out. No. It's the government to buy the products. I know, right? Under the plan, the government would spend $400 billion in government purchasing of U.S.-based goods and services over 4 years, and $300 billion in research and development for new technologies and clean energy initiatives. Which means instead of you and I going out and buying a product that's American-made to boost the local business that's actually manufacturing it or building it or selling it or transporting it or selling it retail, we're not doing it. It would be the government buying that product. Because remember, on the left side of the aisle, it's always the government's got to solve it. The government's just going to fix it all. So the government's going to fix by spending our money, our taxpayer money, to buy our products. I don't know what they're going to do with the product, but they're going to buy it. And by printing more money to inject into the system to buy the goods from the government with our taxpayer money, which essentially we're buying it by default, that's going to stimulate the economy better than what Trump's doing by saying, here's your money back, go do your thing and grow the economy and grow the GDP the way you need to. That's the grand plan from Joe Biden with his $700 billion economic recovery plan for COVID-19. That's the genius that took him 50 years to create to run for president. Wow. That's it for us today. Back at it tomorrow. Remember, you're your own voice of reason. It's time for you to speak up, speak out, speak loud, speak proud, speak the truth, and always speak some reason. This is the Voice of Reason. Back at it tomorrow with Newt Gingrich. You're not going to want to miss that. Until then, podcast going up soon. Everybody have a wonderful Thursday afternoon. Hey, Hey, it's Andy Hoosier with the Voice of Reason. Fighting for conservative principles seems more difficult all the time. The progressive left seems to find new and creative ways to limit freedom, abuse power, and trample the Constitution each and every day. That's why we need the knowledge, resources, and common sense to push back, and we can help with that. Visit our website at HoosierReason.com. There's some really great stuff for you. You can read the latest blog discussing topical issues and current events. Let us know your thoughts by filling out our monthly survey. Keep track of what I might be doing or where I may be speaking. Listen to the podcast of your favorite guest or show, and check out our latest Voice of Reason product infomercials. Plus, you can find upcoming show schedules and guest lineups to plan your radio listening appropriately. And finally, make sure to become a Hoosier-holic by subscribing to the free newsletter. Stay up to date on the latest news of the show, fun facts of the month, and learn new ways to defend and preserve this great republic. It's all there at HoosierReason.com. Again, HoosierReason.com. Go check it out. Why? Because it's kind of the reasonable thing to do.